welcome to the Betfred Football Show. It's the League Cup final on Sunday afternoon in England and in Scotland as well. We're going to be concentrating on that game, Newcastle versus Manchester United. I'm joined by League Cup winner in 1992, Paul Parker, when Manchester United beat Nottingham Forest 1-0, and of course Fred, the official betting partner of Manchester United, and we know you're a huge Red as well. First of all, Parks, what was it like then beating Forest back in 1992, wasn't it? It was 1-0, Brian McClare.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, it was a great day because it was my first ever final, club final. It's my first medal that I won. Everything was fantastic. I was playing at Wembley for Manchester United rather than playing there, because I played there for England on a few occasions, and it was a completely different feeling. And I think there is a picture that went out, and we had a team picture done, and all it is, and there's me, I'm the only one, I'm staring at my medal. Had enough at home, but they're from Sunday morning football kids. That one was a proper medal.
Fred, it's been 6 years since Manchester United have won a trophy. That was the Europa League final, Ajax 2-0. They also won the League Cup final that year against Southampton 3-2. 6 years is a long time for Manchester United, isn't it?
I think it's been a long, boring, disappointing time as well. I mean, we've gone through manager after manager. This guy comes along, Ten Hag, he's changed everything for us. I've got nothing but admiration for him. It has been a really tough time being a supporter of Manchester United. Last year, I missed more games than I've ever missed because I just didn't want to go to them. I was so disappointed with the way we were playing. We weren't fighting. And they bring this guy in, Ten Hag, and I said, me being a great judge as I am, it's going to take him 5 years to turn this club round, and what has he done? He's turned it round in 8 months. I've got full of admiration. There's
been obviously a couple of good signings, Paul, in Casemiro and Martinez, but is Ten Hag the difference?
Oh, without a doubt. I think it's really more prominent now of the fact of Manchester United haven't had a manager since Sir Alex Ferguson. I think for me it's as simple as that. He's the first manager they've had. Everyone else has come in as being a coach as such. They haven't managed the players. And now he's coming and he's bossing the players. The players know where they stand. There's no more loose stories going about anymore. You look at the way the team's playing. You look at the way you look at the players when they do what they do, and they give themselves high fives. They're really in with it. And Casemiro has come in, and I remember one person come out and said he's only come for the money. You look at his performances, and yes, we all love a bit of money, but he's there for the fight and he's enjoying himself. That's the difference. When I talk with Casemiro, I look at Casemiro, I look at Varane, they're enjoying themselves, because Varane isn't missing games. He's playing in games and being in the winning mentality, and the fact of being at Old Trafford as well. You do not want to miss a game in this situation, because you're worried that you're missing out on that adulation, and it's a wonderful feeling.
And has Ten Hag brought that discipline back to Manchester United? You played under Sir Alex Ferguson, and discipline, work rate were the key, weren't they?
They were, but the boss actually implemented it. It was one of those things he implemented, but it was the players who actually laid it down, because the main thing in life is that, yes, your boss will have a go at you, but nothing worse than your teammates questioning you, and that happened. And you would get questioned as a player if you weren't pulling your weight. But Sir Alex Ferguson really laid that down just by the way he spoke. There weren't A4 bits of paper on the wall saying, don't do this, don't do that. It was just there, didn't need a rule book. And I think he's the same way, the whole way. His persona just says to me everything about, if you let this club down, there's only one thing that's going to happen, and that's a great thing to have.
And Fred, the big difference I've noticed, like Barcelona, for example, going 1-0 down. Well, that could have been 2 or 3 last season, but at the game, you felt that Manchester United were going to get back in it.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the performances this year, they beat Arsenal, they beat Liverpool, they beat City. They can't do much better than that. They go and beat Barcelona after being 1-0 down. They never give up now. One thing that this manager did do, or has happened to the club, Paul Pogba's gone. Because to me, he was a complete waste of time at 89 million, whatever we paid for him. Ronaldo's gone, because he spoilt himself with me. I think he's one of the greatest players of all time he soured me against himself, the way he's performed and spit his dummy out. Jesse Lingard has gone. He was a rapper. That's all he was. I mean, really does. I get disappointed when I see all that sort of stuff. And what's he brought in? He's brought Casemiro in. Too old, he was telling me at the beginning of the season.
He makes football look so simple.
Martinez he's brought in. Too small. We get beat by Brentford. We got beat by Brighton the first 2 games of the season. They drift out, and what was happening there? The press was saying the manager's under pressure. To me, this manager's done a fantastic job. We could beat anybody on our day.
We are going to talk about Newcastle as well as we build up to the League Cup final on Sunday afternoon at 4:30. But let's get the view from Andy Mitten, journalist, and of course the fanzine United We Stand.
United will hope that the victory over Barcelona gives momentum going into the final. The nightmare scenario, apart from being defeated to Barcelona, was the game going to extra time and penalties. That didn't happen. I think it was a significant win against the Catalans for the manager, for his staff, for the players, for the fans. It's like we can beat a big team in Europe now. And that will really help their confidence. I'm just told by all the different people I speak to when I do my job that that was a significant win. And if you can carry that momentum through to Sunday's final, everyone's on a high, which they are, then suddenly the intensity of the games, which is very high at the moment, becomes less of an issue. So I think defeat against Barca would have been a big blow, but going into the game, still in Europe, still in the FA Cup, chance of winning the EFL Cup final. These are the moments you live for as a fan, and also for the players. I saw a lot of the players after the game last night. They weren't unhappy. They were all smiling. They're loving this, and it's been too long for Manchester United.
Views from Andy Mitten, and we'll hear from some Newcastle fans a little later. Right, Manchester United obviously the favourites for this, with double delight and hat-trick heaven on first goal scorer bets for this game as well. Right then, Fred, it's been 10 years since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. Do you now honestly feel they are finally going in the right direction?
Absolutely. I mean, it's when you go to the stadium now, the atmosphere is completely different as it's been over the last few years. You just want to be there. And I was saying to Paul, you don't want to miss a game anymore. Last year it was difficult going to the games because it was boring. They weren't fighting, and I'm really looking forward to this game on Sunday. I mean, I think it's going to be a really good game. And I would say to you, I love the Newcastle fans. They're as good as us. They're one of the big clubs, in my opinion. Not won anything for 5 centuries, but they're going to win something, or they've got a chance of winning something on Sunday. It's going to be a good game.
Paul, Manchester United 8 points clear of 5th position, which is actually Newcastle. The aim for Ten Hag was clearly to finish in the top 4 at the start of this season. So if he wins a trophy on Sunday, is this a bonus?
Oh, without a doubt. Everyone, for him, I think he would have set his stall out anyway, the fact of he wants to manage in the Champions League again after he had that good time of reaching the semi-final with Ajax. So he's going to want to do that and do it as a Manchester United manager as well, which is incredible. That's how I'd see it. But to get to a final and have a chance of silverware is, for me at the moment, to him would be the cherry on top of the cake for him to go and do that in the first season. But himself, he knows, and I think he's got the same mindset as a boss. He would see that and go on Monday, if he was to succeed at that, Monday morning, that's gone. Well,
they've got West Ham on Wednesday, and then Liverpool away in the Premier League.
Yes, that's exactly right. So that's the way I look at it, and I think he's just that way. And anybody who sits back and rests on that, they've got, they're not welcome at the club, because he wants more, and he knows he has to achieve things as Manchester United manager. But I think he's got this about himself. He wants to win things, and he's going to want players who want to do exactly the same as him, the same way as Sir Alex.
Well, going back to 1992 when you won the League Cup, obviously Sir Alex Ferguson had won the FA Cup. He'd won the Cup Winners' Cup against Barcelona as well. Did you feel back then that, he was chuffed to win the League Cup, but he knew he wanted the big one, the Premier League?
Yeah, we knew before that, by the way he was. He accepted where we were, and it was another final. It was the first, the opportunity to become the first manager who's won the League Cup, because United hadn't won the League Cup prior to that as well. So that's what he was about going out and getting the getting the best results, getting the best performances, and winning trophies. But even then, when we did go and win it, the priority then was the league. And as you know, history says that we failed, and we did. We lost our way in the end, and that come down to experience, really. We can talk about injuries, but experience and how to deal with pressure cost us in the end.
But you did it the next year, didn't you?
Yeah, well, that was it. That was a spin-off of
Thanks
it.
to probably the disappointment and experience of 1992 and Leeds winning the title.
That's right. But then when you look at it, I think we played 5 games in 18 days, if I remember rightly, as well. And that's the bit we couldn't get over. You've got to remember as well, there was a lot smaller squads then as well, and you got on with it. There was no moaning about being tired. You had to get up and get on with it, which we did. And and we just failed, and that reason we lacked a bit of depth. What it comes down to, and that's not being disrespectful, but if you look at the way football is now to what it was then, United, even everyone talk about the biggest club in the world financially, we couldn't go out and have players of a certain category sitting around doing nothing.
So going back in the early 90s, Fred, the FA Cup, the Cup Winners' Cup, and then the League Cup, and then the Premier League came a season after winning the League Cup. I don't think Manchester United are going to win the Premier League this year.
No, they shouldn't be winning
but
it.
could this be a step back in the right direction,
but
winning the Carabao Cup?
I mean, you look at this, Mark, on the betting now on the Premiership, it evens each year too.
Yeah.
Arsenal and City. It should go that way. United are 12-1. I know people who backed them at 100-1 after the Brentford-Brighton game. It could be a big step. And you win a trophy and it gives that confidence there, and people want to go on and win more trophies. And I think this fella's really done it for us. And you look at people like Rashford.
3-1 to score.
He couldn't get in the team last year. He couldn't get in the team. And when he did get in the team, he's substituted. He's playing out of his skin this year. You look at Luke Shaw, for me, the best season he's ever had at Old Trafford under this manager. Under Jose Mourinho, he couldn't get in the team. He wanted him away from the club.
Well, let's ask a full-back that used to play centre-back sometimes as well. What have you made of Luke Shaw this year then? He's been outstanding, hasn't he?
First of all, I was too small to be a centre-half.
You sometimes played centre-half, haven't you?
No, I played it for 4 years at QPR, and I played it for 2 years prior to that when I was at Fulham in the 3rd Division, so someone saw something. But getting back to Luke Shaw, if people ask me about eating humble pie, I will eat humble pie on the fact of what I said about Luke Shaw, because for a lot of the time I think I was right about him, the way he was conducting himself, his displays on the pitch, the way he looked after himself. But now we're seeing Luke Shaw playing at his peak, I think, at this moment in time. But the one thing, when you become a United player, you have to have consistency. To play at a top club that's delivering, you've got to virtually have players and know their levels of performances. And Luke Shaw's level of performances at the moment, I would say, except for the one game I saw him at Ellen Road. Was it Ellen Road? Was it? I think no. When it was a game at home just recent, or just in the last week.
Was it Leeds at home?
I think it was Leeds at home where he struggled a bit. But other than that, he's been working a minimum of 7 out of 10, without a doubt. When he went in at centre half in that first game, I saw him play against Nottingham Forest, and I went, wow.
I was surprised when I saw the team sheet. Yeah.
And then I saw the way he played it. So straight away, being typical me and cynical, I went, but Forest had nothing up front. Then he went to Wolves and he played it at Wolves, and he was absolutely incredible. The way he played it, he played like he's been playing it for ages. Something that's been missing at United for 3-4 seasons. A centre half who can just control and pass it out to the left-hand side, because the left-sided midfield players or anybody just got redundant, waiting for Harry Maguire to swing his right foot to curl it round all the time. And then he played it in Europe, he played it at Barcelona, and he just played in that role, and I just thought, yep, he's absolutely killed it in a very, very short pace. And that comes from confidence, and that's belief. That's belief from the manager that's made Luke Shaw into where he is now.
And a quick word on Marcus Rashford.
Well, he's just become an incredible goal scorer. That's the thing about it. He's instinctive. You virtually just lay it there for him, and you give him the maximum, say, 2 touches, one to control and shoot, and you look at it at this moment in time, he's going to score goals.
So Marcus Rashford 3-1 to score first. Callum Wilson 9-2 to score first for Newcastle. I expect him up top. Let's get some views from a Newcastle camp. and hear from Newcastle Fan TV.
100% successful. Yes, people are going to say that we've chucked the money at it, but we haven't. Yeah, we are sitting at the end of February, literally a couple of points off the Champions League positions, and we're in a cup final. I mean, what more can you ask? There's a curve, and we're ahead of that curve by at least a couple of years. Nobody in the world expectations would have us sitting in the cup final and sitting literally fighting for Champions League place already. Yes, maybe in a couple of years' time when the squad's improved, but you take a look at where Newcastle are, and a lot of people, opposition fans, when we come up against them, they're pointing the finger at some of our players like Bruno Gomes or Callum Wilson, or, you know, they're talking about Nick Pope or Kieran Trippier. We've got threats now in our side, and they're actually worried about us, which is such a refreshing change, considering we used to, before the manager came in, we used to park the bus and think, oh, we'll do well to get a point here. The whole mentality has changed. The philosophy has changed. It's attacking football for large parts of the season. I think the season's probably catching up a little bit with us at the minute. We look a little bit leggy, but you ask me this question at the end of February, sitting a couple of points off the Champions League, a threat to the big boys, and a cup final. Yeah, it's a successful season, and even if we do tailgate off a little bit, I still think we'll qualify at least for Europe.
The thoughts from a Newcastle fan. So Newcastle 5th at the moment, Parks. Bit of a blip of late, but they've only lost 2 games this season, both to Liverpool. And I thought they had their chances against Liverpool, even though they were down to 10 men last Saturday. Where do you think Newcastle are at? Because we talk about lack of trophies at Manchester United. The FA Cup, they won that in 1955, so that's 68 years ago. They won the Fairs Cup in 1969. Runners-up in a League Cup in 1976. Runners-up in the FA Cup in 1999 when Manchester United beat them. So basically, no major trophies for 68 years, and they're a big club with a big support.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard it all the time in Newcastle. They do talk about, yeah, they're a big club, but I think if you've been honest, to be a big club, you have to win trophies. There's no point talking about how big a fan base you got, because people were not going to let you get off of it until you start winning trophies. So they're hoping that it can begin on Sunday, but I look at it and I don't think that will happen. But you look at it now and the way they've come on, and people expected them to step forward because of financially they got a little bit of a boost. I think they surprised people by how much they did spend, because people were expecting more for them to go bigger and better. But I think they've done it in the right way. They've used players that, or I should say players are playing who are playing again another level above where they were before under Steve Bruce. So you have to say that Eddie Howe has done really well with those players, because he's reinvented a few of them.
It's been a long time, 68 years, Fred, since that FA Cup win. You just get the feeling now, even if they don't win on Sunday in Newcastle, they're going in the right direction as a club now.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've suffered over the last 10 years with Mike Ashley, haven't they? He's never put any money into it. I don't think he had that much interest in it, and I don't really know why he bought it. But, they've got new owners there, they've got new enthusiasm. Eddie Howe's a very good manager, in my opinion, and I think next year they'll be a force. They'll sign somebody in the close season, and there'll be a force ready to go next year.
And they've still got a great chance of Champions League football. I know they've just slipped out of the top 4, but still got a great chance. Right then, prediction time. Come on then.
I think United will win by at least 2 clear goals, maybe 3.
So what kind of score then?
3-0 for United.
Well, I think Newcastle will score. But Parks, you're going to be there working on Sunday.
I'm going to go with, I like the idea of what Fred's saying about the deficit between them, the 2 goals. I'm going to go 3-1.
3-1 Manchester United?
Yes, without a doubt, yeah.
And obviously Manchester United still in 4 trophies. They're not going to win the Premier League, in my opinion. How many of those 4 trophies can they win then, Fred?
They can win 3. They can win 3.
What, the 3 cups?
Yeah.
The Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, Europa League?
Yeah. I mean, we were 5-2 favourite for the Euro Cup, aren't we now? We've 4-7 to win this trophy. We've got every chance of doing it.
Without getting carried away then, Parks, it's certainly very different from sitting here last season. How many of the 4 trophies can Manchester United win?
No, you never saw me sit with a smile. You was always waiting me to be snarling, didn't you, really?
Yeah.
Generally, See, I like the idea what Fred's saying there with 3 of them, to be perfect honest. I like that
So
idea.
is this what Ten Hag's done? Put smiles on people's faces?
Oh, without a doubt. And
He's clearly put the smiles on players' faces as well.
yeah,
hasn't he?
he's that.
Sorry.
Go on for it.
I just mentioned to you, before the season started, I spoke to Alex Ferguson and he said to me, the players like this manager. That was before we kicked a ball this year, he said the players like him. And that helps as well. You've got to put the discipline in there and you've got to be the boss. But it helps if your players like you.
Yeah.
Right, we're running out of time. I still want to talk about the Scottish League Cup final. Just quickly go through the Premier League fixtures. Right then, tonight it's Fulham versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. Your old team, Fulham, are 6th. Prediction?
After watching them at Brighton last week, and they did a bit of a smash and grab at Brighton, I'm going to believe they're at home, they're going to be better. I don't know if Mitrovic is going to be fit because they're touch and go, but even then, I think they'll still win. They'll beat Wolves 2-0.
West Ham and Nottingham Forest. This is a huge game for West Ham, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Everyone around me is just, at the moment...
I know you're surrounded by West Ham supporters where you live.
They are absolutely down. That, you know, it was sacked. They wanted the manager sacked before the World Cup, which I thought was madness at the time. But you look what's going on. He's just got to really, David Moyes, go out there and change it. After what they've done last weekend at Tottenham, if he does that at home against Nottingham Forest, they're going to go absolutely ballistic, the fans. But this is the kind of... I'm going to stick my neck out and say West Ham will win 2-1.
Fred, Leicester City, Arsenal. I know they got beat by Man City. They're still getting results, aren't they? Good result of Villa after going behind as well.
But I think Leicester's come to a little bit though. I mean, they did no good against us last week, but I think
Worked by the first half.
That's what I was just going to say. I think we were flattered to win 3-0. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if that game's a draw.
Okay, now this is huge. 19th versus 20th, Leeds versus Southampton.
At some time, Leeds have got to win a game. And the way they've been playing, they haven't deserved to lose a lot of the games that they've been in. I think they're going to win this one. Southampton are on a high because of their last result at Chelsea. This is the kind of games that bring them back to earth, the ones that they have to win against their rivals. I think Leeds to win that 1-1-0.
Everton, Aston Villa. He's won 2 out of 3, Sean Dyche now.
I think he's going to keep them up. I'm pretty confident he's got them playing for him now. I'll go for Everton.
And the 5:30 game is Bournemouth, Man City. You'd expect City have been a bit lacklustre on the travels.
They've been inconsistent, but I can't see Bournemouth troubling them at all. I don't know what price we are City on. It's got to be
City
so
about
good.
2 to 7.
2 to 7. Well, that tells you, doesn't it? You've got to put your money on City.
And as a 7:45 game, Crystal Palace, Liverpool. There were so many mistakes against Real Madrid, wasn't there?
There was, but that's been going. That's the way their season's been. Even though everyone was talking about their main players all coming back, you're looking at a point where they just need a clear out, change it a little bit, and more appetite. They are lacking appetite. Van Dijk isn't a player everyone wanted him to be. The goalkeeper, too many mistakes now. The fullbacks, nope. Midfield things are passing them by. I'm going to go Crystal Palace to win that one.
More misery on Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally on Sunday, Fred, Tottenham versus Chelsea. Chelsea are 10th. Spurs have got themselves into 4th.
I think Chelsea are in a bit of a mess. I mean, they bought all these players. They sacked the manager, bring Potter in there. Nothing seems to be working for them. I think they'll be glad when this season's finished. I think I'd have to put my money on Spurs.
Will Potter see out the season?
I think he will. I really do. I think he'll get the opportunity to start again, and then we could talk. Then, if he doesn't change, then we'll be talking about someone out within a few weeks.
Right, just before we finish, the Scottish League Cup final, Rangers versus Celtic. This is a repeat of a 2019 final. You were there, Fred. You handed over the trophy. It was 1-0 Celtic, but it was an amazing atmosphere, wasn't it?
Probably some of the best atmosphere I've had at any football match ever. It was electric. I just could not believe how good it was. I loved that game. I mean, the venom between both sides. I don't think we get it in England like we did in Scotland for that game. I loved it. It was fantastic. I think you've got to put your money on Celtic just.
Are you Celtic? They are 9 points clear, obviously, in the Scottish Premiership. But this is a cup final. Anything can happen.
Oh, it's right, yeah. But I just think the distance in quality between the two teams is a big one. You know, the way Celtic play football, they play football like top sides we see. And when I say top sides, I include Brighton in that as well. But the way they play football, he's come in, the Australian man's come in. I just noticed I didn't bother trying to say his name. He's come in and done wonders. The players he's brought in, the Asian players he's brought in, he's been what he's done for Celtic has been incredible on a shoestring, and really in the money they're spending compared to clubs here. I can only see Celtic winning that, as Fred said, but the football they play is far better than Rangers.
So both going for Celtic. Right, then we're running out of time. Final question. How much are you looking forward to going back to Wembley on Sunday, Fred? It's 6 years.
And it feels longer, I promise you, but I'm really looking forward to it. I'll be there. And Paul's going. I hope to see you there, Paul. I'll buy you a drink if I see you.
How much are you looking forward to it, Parks?
What, Fred buying me a drink?
Yeah.
Well, don't hold your breath.
How much are you looking forward to it? Actually going and actually, thinking they've got a proper chance as well, because it has been tough for the last 2 or 3 years covering Manchester United for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been. It's, when you're there and you're being called out as someone who's, bitter for hating the club and, the way I'm talking, but I'm saying the truth. They're not playing well. I'm not going to wear rose-tinted glasses if United are playing poor.
And you work with the best, Sir Alex Ferguson, and is this the nearest they've had to Sir Alex Ferguson so far?
Oh, 100%. I said, done something last week, and the game in Barcelona is the best performance I'd seen from a United side for 9-10 years in a European game. It was one of the best, and haven't had that. Even winning the Europa League under Jose Mourinho doesn't get in there. Getting to it was lucky in a certain way. Basel at home, very fortunate, a great save from David De Gea. So it was great to see United competing in Europe up against another great force in Barcelona. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking for United to win, because then to do that, it'd be misery if they didn't go and win that game for me.
Don't get him started on Mourinho. We haven't got enough time. Hey, they could play Mourinho, couldn't they, in the Europa League, but they've got Real Betis in the last 16. Gents, thanks for joining us. Enjoy the football. So we've got the League Cup final in Scotland and that huge game at Wembley at 4:30 on Sunday. Be lucky.